Hello and welcome back. This is Kevin's Hobby Showcase. I'm Kevin. You may have seen me before on Tabletop Jones Productions presents 2/8 playing board games with me and my friend John. And today I'm going to be working on a little something different. I mean, so far you've seen me work on characters from the game Marvel Crisis Protocol. I mean, I'm a big Marvel fan, so it's a bit of a, it's very much of a thrill for me to recreate that, recreate that on miniatures. But today is something a little different. It's for the game Battletech, and lately they've been coming out with faction-specific lance sets. For them, a lance is basically a unit of four battlemechs, and so I got the set for Hanson's Roughriders, and here's what we got. We got here. We have the battlemech atlas. Now, what I do with these, I mean, as you can see, this is already primed. But what I do with these is just so I remember what the name of the mech is I make a little label and I put it on the bottom. Now, for me, this is very important because not only does it match up with certain pilot cards and all that, and also the cards for this if you play it in the Alpha Strike mode, but what I also do is, because you're going to see this when I'm getting close to finishing these pieces, is I take my label maker, I make the print really, really small, and I print out where, what the faction that belongs to, and I put that on the front of the base. As you can see, the base, not a lot of space, but just enough that I can get a label on it. If I make it very, very thin, because I got to print it and I got to cut it. So I put the faction it belongs to on the front, and then the name of the mech on the back. And this way, when I'm playing with it, I know, what it's associated with. So we got the Atlas. We got here one called the Penetrator. Please don't laugh. Keeping mine out of the gutter. Trust me, I thought of all the jokes when I was reading, when I found out what the name of this mech was, myself. And let's see what we got. The Hatchet Man, of course, as you can see from the nice big ass hatchet that it's holding in its right hand. And we got the Enforcer. As you can see, all of these are primed. Now, I haven't done it yet, but before I start painting these, I will consult there's a website where they will where it's a website for Classic Battletech. It's called, I think, Camo Specs. And what it does is you look up any faction, whether it be one of the great houses, whether it be any of the mercenary units, whether it be any of the clans. When you want to use the clan tech, you look up any of them, and it'll give you color schemes. So at least if you want to have it to the color scheme of the faction that you're using, there's your source right there. I can believe it. If you actually go to a BattleTech website, it'll actually have all the it'll actually have it as an option to go visit the site. That's how I found it. So, it makes it, if you want to be that true to it, because, I mean, I don't know all the lore. I know some of it, but not a lot of it. Because there's a lot of fiction that goes along with it that gives you, like, the history of everything with, with all different factions of the Inner Sphere. It's what they, it's like, there's like basically the Inner Sphere, that follows this type of unit building where they call them lances, and then it'll give you insight on those clans, which with them it's called a star, which is basically 5. So it's going to get interesting when you start matching up Inner Sphere and clan. So it's just really great fun. I mean, I've played it not nearly as much as I wanted to. I mean, that's why you've seen me so many times, I think, on the videos saying to John, I can't wait to bring this game out to play against you, because I've been salivating waiting to play this game for so long. And I'm gonna get my chance, and I'm loving it. So yeah. So I'm gonna look up what the color scheme is for Hanson's Roughriders, and so I'll be able to choose my colors. And when we come back, I will get to work on the base coat for these mechs, and then we'll work from there. All right, stay tuned. Okay, I'm back, and so I looked up what the faction color would be for Hanson's Roughriders, and all it said was dusty brown. So I looked at some of the pictures that it had when I looked up that mercenary faction, and it did show some like lightish brown color, but with a darker brown to do some like highlights on certain parts of the mech. So I'm gonna do that. I got two different shades of brown. One, so I'll use the lighter shade for the base, and then when I start doing the details, it's gonna, I'll put on just random areas. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to it because with battlemechs, you do have quite a bit of leeway as far as like how you paint it. Because I mean, there's no really, I mean, in the game, there's no real rules that say that has to be painted a certain way. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll put some darker brown in certain areas just to make it, certain areas stand out a little bit more. And then what I always do is I always make what looks like the weapons and the cockpit window black. And on one of these mechs, which is, of course, the Atlas, I don't know any of you out there who have played Battletech before or have seen any pictures from it or whatever. When you see an Atlas, they have like a faceplate, and it's always white. So that's what I'm gonna do. So anyway, let's get to it. So let's get started on the base coats, and just so you know, if you're putting on the base coat on these battle mechs and the paint looks a little bit thin, it's not really a big of a problem, because sometimes you want that faded look to make it look like the battle mech has been through quite a bit. It kind of looks a little battle worn, kind of like what the armor wash would do, but in a different way. And we're gonna do both. All right, so let me put this on. Let's get this paint down. All right. All right, now we're going to start with the Atlas for a couple of reasons. One is it's the biggest mech that's here. I should have taken my brushes out already. I got to do that. All right, so yeah, like I said, one, because it's the biggest mech that's here. The other reason is because it's one of my favorite ones. Let me shake this paint up a bit more. All right. So let's get started. Okay. So, and when I looked up the color scheme and it did say dusty brown, I pretty much knew that I didn't have a color that said dusty brown. And if anyone is curious as to what brand of paint I use, it's Tamiya Color. It's spelled Timiyya. That's the brand that I use. I usually find it, there's like a whole like rack full of them at the local hobby shop that I go to, which is Brown's Hobby on Bennett Avenue in Staten Island. If anybody is in the area, they're a good place to go to. They also have a lot of remote control vehicles in there. I remember one time I went in there, someone was trying out a remote control tank, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, wow. I've never actually seen someone use a remote control tank, and I thought it was pretty cool. And actually, of course, as with any other guy out there, what did I think the first time I saw the remote control tank? I thought, wow, does the gun work? Yeah, I don't remember if I asked, because I don't remember what if it did or didn't. I probably didn't ask. I probably just was marveling at how cool I thought it looked. Okay, it's coming in nicely right now. Alright, and so if anybody who's watching this has never played Battletech before, well, this is a game I've always enjoyed. I mean, like I said in the intro, I really haven't played it nearly as many times as I wanted to. I mean, I really, there's so many times I wanted to play and I just didn't get the chance to, or I didn't have any opponents to play against. There's no real gaming shops out here where you would be able to just play a pickup game of whatever games that you want to play. In fact, the only time I was able to do even something remotely close to something like that was when the comic store, Comic Book Jones, was still in business. Because as some of you know, me and my friend John have spoken about it when we do our videos for Tabletop Jones Productions. Matter of fact, I'm sure some of you have heard the story of me telling it. The reason we call ourselves Tabletop Jones Productions is because we were originally going to set up, well, at least try to set up, a gaming community that would meet in the store. Because the owner was not opposed to having, games in the, sold in the stores, nor was he opposed to having the games played in the stores, in the store. Sorry, and that was our original plan, was to do something like that. And unfortunately, before we can even get it off the ground, he went out of business. Which I'll tell you, it was a sad day for us here on Staten Island, because that was one of probably, actually I think that was voted the best comic shop several years in a row in New York City. And I could pretty much attest to that that is very, very accurate, because I've gone to a number of different comic shops to get my books over the years. Most of them in Brooklyn, because that's where I grew up and lived most of my, well, by now it's actually not most of my life anymore, but a good part of it there. Yeah, so we were very, very saddened when that place closed. So anyway, look at this. It's coming in pretty good. I mean, the Atlas is probably going to be the one that takes the most amount of time to do the base coat, like I said, because it's so big. It is classified in the game as an assault mech. In the game they have, for the mechs, they have them in 4 different classes: light, medium, heavy, and assault. And it goes by the tonnage that they are basically said to have in the game, whereas this particular mech is considered a 100-ton mech. Like which 100 tons is basically the heaviest you can get with any of the battle mechs, any of the vehicles. Eventually, I will have some vehicles to paint, because they did a Kickstarter for actually so far most of their major releases have happened through Kickstarter. Catalyst Labs seems to like to do that, and it's a good way to get some goodies for your that you wouldn't normally get. But anyway, as I was saying, they just came out with a Kickstarter for mercenaries specifically, and they are introducing in this in this particular Kickstarter the vehicles, which is really nice, because before this, in order to get pieces that weren't battle mechs, because there's also infantry, which they call battle armor, so to get any of that, the only way to get it was through a site called Iron Wind Metals, which last time I tried to visit that site, it looked like it wasn't in operation anymore, which really, really sucks. Because so far, aside from the elementals, which is the infantry for the clans, so far there is no other infantry. And I am the type of person, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who is enjoying this game that feels this way. I'm the type of person that likes to have every aspect of the game. So yeah, so here we go. Alright, so got the base coat done on the Atlas, and I'm going to move on. See, this is, I think I mentioned this in one of my previous videos. This is like a method, kind of a method. It's like called, why am I blanking on it? Assembly line, that's what I was thinking. Okay, assembly line, because I'm taking the same color, and then you just, you go from one piece to the next piece to the next piece to the next piece. Yeah, so here we go. Now I'm painting the penetrator again, and keeping mine out of the gutter. I thought of all the jokes already.
Yeah, so every now and again, with games like this, you're gonna come across a name that's gonna make you giggle because it sounds a bit inappropriate. I don't know if it was meant that way, or if they just really had no clue when they thought up the name. But then again, if you constantly thought of how a name could be made fun of, you'd never come up with names. All right. And for anybody watching, because I know this is, in certain circles, a very popular game. So if is anybody who's watching this video and has battlemechs that are painted, even if it's not a faction-specific paint job, if you want to post it in the comments, I would love to see it, because I always like to see what other. I think I mentioned this before with the when I did the Marvel characters. I always like to see what other people come up with when it comes to painting their game pieces. Yeah, so I remember I told you the story about the pink army. So yeah, so I've also told you about my friend John, who I do the Tabletop Jones Productions channel with, and he's actually very good at this. In fact, right now, he has a game that is basically it's it's kind of like a line to the movie Night of the Living Dead, and it's got a whole bunch of miniatures that are zombies. And he basically told me that before he brings that game out for the channel, he wants to paint all the zombies so that it looks really, really cool on camera. And of course I was like, yeah, absolutely. We got other games we could put out first, before that. So when the time comes, for those of you who are, for those of you who are also subscribed to Tabletop Jones Productions, and for those of you who aren't, feel free to go and subscribe, check out our videos there. You'd be in for a treat when we take that game out, because it's going to look really awesome. And especially when it comes to horror-based themes, he is very good at doing it. As a matter of fact, I think we've mentioned it on the channel, he does like the zombie makeup every now and again, and he does the haunted house with the, out here in Staten Island with a group of people. I think it's called the Chrysler Mansion. I don't know if they're still doing it. He was actually telling me that there's a new owner and they may not be able to do it. I'm hoping that's not the case, because he really enjoys doing it. Yeah, even get under the foot here. Anyway, as far as this game goes, now let me just say, this game originally came out by a company called FASA, F-A-S-A, and I remember I got into it heavily, but unfortunately didn't have anybody to play against, so I kind of let it go to the wayside. And then I picked it up again later on in my life, but the same thing happened. It's like everybody who could have been interested all of a sudden had other things to do. So anyway, so here I am again with this, and now it's picked up by, I think FASA dropped it. I don't remember why. I don't know if there was even a reason why, but got a bunch on my finger. But anyway, so a company called Catalyst Labs has picked it up, and I have to say, they are putting out some really good looking mechs. So I'm really interested in seeing how the vehicles are gonna look. Okay. Alright, so we got the base coat done on the penetrator. Now we'll go for the hatchet man. Alright. And once we're done with the base coat, of course, we're going to let it dry. I mean, some of it may already be dry, but you know, I at least need to wash my hands before we get to the details, and I'd also like to take a break. Seems to be loose on the base, this one. We have to glue that later. Okay. Yeah, and anything. So, like I said, I was going to go over anything that looks like a weapon in black. For the hatchet man, I may not do that with the actual hatchet, because the hatchet is just, you know, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it would need black to stand out. But you know, anything that's you know, that's like an energy weapon, or a missile, or a cannon, all that stuff I'm going to go over in black. Plus I also do the cockpit window just so that it stands out. Now, if I were really good, but I'd try to do like a little painting of pilots sitting in the cockpit, but I am nowhere near that good. If anybody is, and you have something like that, take a picture. I'd love to see it. Alright. Yeah, and this, I remember years ago, I actually very briefly looked into airbrushing, because I mean, I heard some guys talk about doing it. They tried their darndest to make it sound like it was easy to do, but the more I looked into it, the more I was like, all I'm gonna do is make a mess. So I just, you know, abandoned it. Plus, I mean, it just looked like it was just gonna cost me a lot more in the long run with the all the mechanisms that I would need in order to do airbrush. You know, it's like needed a compressor and needed all these other things, and you had to be able, you know, to pour the paint into the you know, into like the where it draws the paint from. It's, I mean, it just looked like it would, you know, be a huge mess. And yeah, and plus, the first thing I thought of when I saw that was, what if I put in too much paint? What am I going to do with the rest of that paint? There's going to be a lot of paint I'm going to be throwing away. So I decided not to even attempt to learn how to airbrush. Figure just keep it like this. Just get a little bit more in the hatchet. Alright, get a little bit more into here. Alright, okay. And now the enforcer. So I have more of these Lance packs, like the faction specific ones. There's a bunch of Lance packs out there that are just, you know, battlemechs. They don't have it where it's tied to a specific faction or mercenary company. So I'm trying to basically get the ones that are tied to a specific faction. I'm trying to find those if I can, or when I can, I should say. But I'll be getting, like I said, with the Kickstarter, I'll be getting a bunch of them in. I don't remember the ones I chose. I suppose I can go back into Kickstarter and look at what my order was. I think they're going to start shipping them soon, as I hope so, because we've been waiting over a year. You know, but I always forget that when they do a Kickstarter, the Kickstarter is you raise the money, and then you make the product and you send it out to everybody. So, you know, there was I think a few million of us that were backing this project. So needless to say, Catalyst Labs got more than what they, more than their goal to do this. Yeah. Getting close to being done with the base coats. Alright, so I mean when I get to the details, it's probably not going to take that long. So alright, that's yeah, because the details is just going to be a little bit here, a little bit there. It's not going to be a whole heck of a lot. Because really with the battlemechs you don't really need a whole heck of a lot, you know. For the most part, you just, you know, you need a base coat and just some identifying markers, really, most of the time. And that site that I was telling you about, Camo Specs, they basically spell it out, I guess as best they can, because I'm not sure where they got their information from, but I figure any little bit helps. Okay, so we got all the base coat done. Let's close the... Alright.
Okay, so we got the base coat done, and next we're gonna, oh, I think I went up too much. Next we're gonna do the details. Like I said, it's probably not gonna take that long. What will probably take long is when we do the bases. So just stay tuned. I'm gonna take a break. Be right back, and we'll get to work on some details. All right, see you soon. Okay, I'm back, and we've given the paint some time to dry, and we're going to start the detailing. Okay, so I got the brown paint ready, the dark brown paint ready, so let's just get to it. Oh, let me get this thing on first. Alright, let's get this down here. Oh, there we go. Alright, so let's start with the Atlas. Now, start off with the dark brown paint, so we're just going to basically, let's see, how about we do a little bit here. There's little places where it has a chance to stand out. I figure here right on the shoulders. So I'll do this side and then I'll do the other side. So this is basically where you get to be a bit creative. So you decide what you want to stand out, and that's what you do. So I'm going to do it on that. Do it here. And we're going to continue doing the assembly line method where, so we're just going to use the brown paint for now. I don't know if any of you heard that laugh, but that's my son upstairs. He knows I'm recording, and he doesn't want to be down here when I'm doing it. Doesn't want to be on here because he wants to do his own channel. He wants to be able to do it on his own merit, and not because people know him from what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to do the knee pads here. Well, they're not pads, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I mean. The knee joint. I'm going to do this. Anyway, so he's up there. He likes to watch these videos that make him laugh, and I don't think he realizes how loud that laugh can be. Of course, now, I remember when I was his age, I used to watch the Carol Burnett show a lot, and my parents' house, if the front, well, even if, I guess, you know what, I was going to say if the front door was open, but even if the front door wasn't open, from what I heard is that I could be heard all the way down the block. That's how loud I laughed. Alright, I want to do one more
Oh, look at that. Got a little bit rubbed off. I want to do one more spot. I'm not sure where yet. You know what? Let's do the hands. It's not like on these battle mechs the hands are super functional. I think they're mostly just for show. Because even when I've read the fiction stories, I've never heard, in any story of a battle mech using its hand to actually grab something. Alright. Actually, let's start taking from here now. So anyway, as I was saying, yeah, so my laugh when I was a kid was super loud and could be quite maniacal. In fact, on plenty of occasions, people I was hanging with would laugh hearing my laugh, So anyway, so done with that, but I'm going to do one more thing on the Atlas before I put it aside, and that is the faceplate, because I want it to give it a chance to dry before we do the black, which would be on that, would be like where the eyes would be on the face. So yeah, I want to give that a chance to dry, so this way you don't have to wait excessively long to finish up the details on the Atlas. So here we go, here we go. Alright, so we're going to do this. Alright. Yeah, you see I can put my fingers together like I've done already. Steady my hand. And just get a little bit more just to fill it out. Okay. Let's get a little bit more here. So by the time we get to the black for the weapons, this should dry enough that I can get into here to put black in for the cockpit window. Or, in the case of how that looks, the eyes. Well, they're not really eyes. Alright, so the white we're done with now, because that's all I needed it for, was just for that. It's just the Atlas that does that, that they have that for. And every picture I've seen of an Atlas, it's always the same. So I wanted to do it myself as well. Now, for the penetrator, again, no mine's in the gutter. Alright, let's do a little bit around here. Because with these detailings that you do on these battle mechs, they don't have to be like a lot. They don't have to be big. They don't have to encompass a lot of space on the mech. A lot of times they're pretty subtle. I mean, I've seen how other people paint them, and unless they're doing a specific design that they came up with, it's usually just, pretty subtle. So anyway, yeah, so I'm sure if my son is watching this video at some point, he's going to go, oh no, they got me on film. But, he'll be alright. Alright, let's get the knees of this. Get a little bit around the edges here of the knees. Now, where else could I put some brown paint? Well, you know what? Let's do this. Let's get a little bit of, let's just one stripe of brown. Starting here, going over this hatch on the bottom. and ending here. Just a bit subtle, but you know, don't really need anything big or grand. As a matter of fact, we'll probably be using the black for the weapons more than we're using the brown here. Alright, so Hatchet Man. Well, you know, okay, with the Hatchet Man, last minute decision here. Let's make the entire hatchet this shade of brown. And have it so that if any of this brown doesn't fully cover, you see the light brown underneath. Alright, this actually came in nicely. And we are going to, we're just going to get up here now. Not the whole head, just this back part. You know, it almost looks like the head of the queen in Aliens. And speaking of that, I've just been, you know, I've been spending a lot of time putting together the Aliens for a game based on that movie. Not easy. It was quite a bit. All right, so we're gonna do a stripe right here because the legs are kind of thin. So we're just gonna do one stripe from like this joint coming up to where it would be the knee part. And I'm gonna leave it. Okay. Okay, yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit here, a little bit there. Actually, you know what? One more bit, because with it just on this side, it looks a little unbalanced. So we're gonna do right here at the shoulder joint. So we can get both sides. Alright. Okay. Alright. That's the Hatchet Man. Now we're on to the Enforcer with the dark brown. And I am going to put a stripe of brown because this looks like a helmet to me. So we're going to do a stripe of brown there. Now I'm going to do around this part of the arm on both sides. I'm going to do it. Now none of this that I'm doing here has been pre-planned. I do not seem to be capable of pre-planning these videos sometimes. So this is all just like spur of the moment stuff. You know, I'm looking at the piece, got the paint in my, got the paintbrush in my hand, and that's when I'm making the decisions on these. And the reason I'm doing it that way is because the you know, the guide for the coloring was not very specific. I mean, sometimes they are, and I do plan it, but not this time. Alright, so we're going to do a little bit there, and there, then on the knee, and I'm going to do a spot back here, and a spot up here. Let's connect them. Let's get underneath. Doesn't have to look perfect. Okay. Okay. Now, that part of the detailing is done. And all we got left is the black to paint both the cockpit windows and the weapons. Alright, so let me get myself a brush for this. Okay. All right, let me get a better brush. All right, I think this is a good one here. Okay. And we're gonna start. Well, first, I gotta open the paint. Okay. Now the atlas, I know from using it, both in the, these games and also in a computer game that from Harebrained Schemes, which is a really good game, is that basically these atlases are like walking arsenals. They got tons and tons of weapons. So there's a lot to choose from on the atlas as far as weapons to paint black. So we're probably going to be using this for a bit now. While I'm here, let's see if I can get, yep, let's see if I can get these cockpit windows, and yeah, pretty much got it. Alright, so let's get more of this gun on the side. I'm just going to get to that part. Alright, now got something here on the side, looks like a missile launcher. Yeah, so that game is called Battletech Tactics. And had a couple of add-ons to it. I wish they put out more, but I guess they they improved the game as much as they wanted to. Oh, sorry, they got this on the sides of the arms here. But I can tell you that, first of all, you make a character for yourself to be in the game, and then you hire, because basically you're the head of a mercenary company, and you hire other battlemechs, no, I'm sorry, other mech warriors to be with you, and basically you just gotta make sure that you budget everything correctly so that your mercenary company doesn't run out of money, and you just basically are trying to build the best mercenary company that you can. All right, so okay, it looks like I got everything that looks like a weapon. I got something up here though that looks like it might be like a sensor dish, so I'm gonna paint that as well. Just to make, just because I want it to stand out. Okay. All right. So looks like I got everything that needs to be gotten. All right. So we're gonna put the atlas aside, let that dry. Here we go with the penetrator. I don't think I need to say no jokes. Okay, got these big honking guns here on each arm. Alright, I'm just going to get the barrel. I don't want to repaint the entire arm. Alright. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, that computer game that I was just talking about, that's another thing that I enjoy quite a bit. Every now and again, I'll go back to that and I'll go further. Basically, I'm getting to the point where I'm about to max out just about every mech warrior I have in my faction. So they give you four stat categories, and 10 is the highest you can go. So I'm about at 10 with just about everybody, including the character that's supposed to be me. Not sure what I'm going to do once I achieve that, but I am well on my way. Unfortunately, though, I do from time to time lose a mech warrior and got to start over again with another one. In fact, just recently, in a mission, or as they call them, contract, I was doing, I lost one of the mech warriors I was getting close to all 10s. And they have a thing where they call it, the memorial war, where you can see, memorial wall, where you can see all the ones that you've lost. And I started looking through it, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that one, I remember that one, oh, I remember that one, and I was like, damn, I lost a lot of mech warriors. Alright, so, looks like I got everything that is obviously a weapon on the penetrator, and including the cockpit window, so we're going to put that down. Did I just rub some off? I did just rub some off. That's why you always got to be careful where you put your fingers. Let's get that back. I know it doesn't, sometimes it looks okay when you have the paint rub off, but I didn't want that one too. Alright, so yeah, so with this one, obviously, like I said, I didn't want to have the hatchet painted black, but I am going to get the other weapons on the hatchet man. I'm gonna paint them black. We'll do the cockpit first. All right, let's see, where are they? Okay, got a little protruding weapon here. Okay. Looks like it has the same thing on this side, so I'm going to make an attempt to get it done. Maybe not, but did it anyway. Alright, it's got two things on the chest. Got this here. I mean, one surefire way to identify something as a weapon is if it looks like it has holes right in the front of it. Because what would come through that hole? Bullets, or cannon, cannon shell, or in some cases, energy for the energy weapon. Because they do have some of these that shoot lasers. Now it's got some things on the head that I'm going to get. I'm not entirely certain if these are weapons, but I want them to stand out, just like I did with that dish on the side of the Atlas's head. And if you ever really want to know what some of this stuff is, you can look at the data sheet if you're playing classic Battletech, or you can look at the Alpha Strike card. Alright, so we got everything that looks like we can get on the Hatchet Man. Put that aside. And now the Enforcer. Okay. And once we're done with the Enforcer, we're done with the details. Okay. So now in the game, the computer game, I believe I've seen Enforcers, I've seen Hatchet Man, I've seen I have a couple of Atlases. The Penetrator, never seen that one in the game. I don't know if it's just that for as long as I've been playing and I haven't encountered it yet, but I would have figured by now I would have encountered it, because I've encountered some other rare mechs. Like, this is one called the Bull Shark, which, oh my, my lord, it is quite the spectacle. Oh, here we go. I forgot about the cockpit window. Yeah, there's that. There's King Crab battlemech. That looks like it should be pretty powerful, but unfortunately it doesn't have a lot of weapons. In fact, it only had like 4. And I was kind of disappointed at that. Alright. Looks like it's got something here on the side. So let's get that. And something here. So we'll get that. Alright. So... sounds like the wind is blowing my garbage cans around again. May have to go chasing them at the next break. Alright. So that's pretty much it for the details. Told you, it wasn't going to take that long. Alright, let's, oops. Let's clean the brush.
Alright. So now we're done with the details, and next is the basing. The basing is going to be a bit more elaborate than when I was doing the Marvel, Marvel game pieces. So it's not going to be any painting, but you're going to see what it is. So I don't, kind of like I don't want to spoil it right now. Okay, so just stay tuned, and when I come back, I'll have the labels ready to put. Well, most of them I'll have put on. I'll show you one of them. That I'll put it on, with sorry about that. I'll put one of them on camera, and but I'll already have the other ones done. Otherwise, it's just a little tedious. And then we'll show you the basing. I always like to get the labels on first, and you'll see why when I do it. All right, so stay tuned, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I put the labels from the label maker that I said I was going to do on 3 of the mechs. I still have 1 left to go, so. Just to give a perspective here. So on the front, I don't know if it's easy to see or hard to see, but I have Hanson's Roughriders. Now, obviously, some of it had to be folded because it is a hex-shaped base, and on the back is the name of the mech. Now, one thing I realized I had forgotten to do when I was making the labels was I have to paint the edges of the base, and I do that, and of course in black because it is a black base. So I did that, just before I finished making all the labels, and of course I had to wait for that to dry before I could put them on. So we still got one left to go. So I'm gonna get to it, and then we're gonna do the base, and then the only thing that's left is the armor wash. So let's just get to it. All right. Okay. So what's left is the Atlas, and I basically cut it, the label down so that it would fit on the edge of the base. So, I use the smallest print possible on the label maker that I have. So let's just peel this off, and we go right to the front, because the name is way too big to fit on just one side of the base. So that's why parts of it are going to look a bit wrinkled. See, just put it on like that. Now, with the Atlas, though, the name is small enough to fit on one side of the base, and that's going to go right on the back. And I do it this way, so this way, because you figure most of the time when you're playing, the piece is going to be facing away from you. So that's why I put the name on the back, so this way I can easily identify the piece for when I want to move it or attack with it. And this is giving me just a little bit of trouble. There we go. And put it on, there we go, like that.
So, now, we have that. Now, the reason why I do that first is because when I do the basing for these, sometimes it kind of comes over a bit, and I got to wipe it away from there. So, and it just makes it easier to put the label on. So here's what I use. I use just regular glue. I prefer clear. Put a little bit. Oh, hold on, it's got to clear the edge. It's been a while since I've used this. Okay. Now put a little bit there. A little bit there. So I'll put a little bit in the front, a little bit in the back, and there's a couple of brushes I have just for the glue, because once you use it for the glue, no matter how much you clean it, it's just gonna stick. So I'll spread it around to cover every part of the base that I want it to cover. All right, and here I got this terrain from a terrain kit, it's, to look like grass. So here we go. Stick it in, get it in there, shake off the excess, and by the labels, just wipe the grass away. Oh, it didn't actually get on the back. And there you go. Looks like he's standing in grass. I'm just going to do grass today. I'm not going to do any other elaborate things like make it look like stones or anything. I mean, I do have that stuff, but I'm just going to keep it simple for this one. Alright, so I got that one. So here's the next one, the penetrator. Just try to get it into every little nook and cranny of the base. Alright, and there we go. And again, get it in there. Swipe it away from the labels. Always try to knock off as much of the excess as you can, because when you store it, if you don't knock the excess off, it will fall off in wherever you store it. So here we go. My mechs are standing in grass. Now, this is regardless of what hex map you're using when you play the game, or what terrain you're using if you're using the Alpha Strike rules, because the Alpha Strike rules, you don't use the hex maps, you use actual terrain, and you measure out. It's starting to come off. And you measure out with like a ruler how far that you're going. They actually have specific rules for all that. Okay. Now the enforcer, and this is the last one, and then the only thing after this is the wash. And this one you could actually call it an armor wash, because it is armor. And I do the wash after this. Actually, sometimes I do it before, and I just chose it to do it after this. Wanted to get the basing done and all that. There's no real, the more I think about it, the more I actually do realize that with the battlemechs, that I have used the wash before doing the basing before, but you can do it either way. All right. And as a matter of fact, I think we can just go right ahead and start this. So it's only 4 battlemechs, and we got all the basing done. Wipe the brush. So let me get out what I need for the wash. Get the specific brush that I use, and this might actually use up the last of this bottle, and then I'll start the new one. Now for this, you don't really need a lot. You could use bare minimum. All you want it to do is to just sink into the crevices of everything on the base. Not on the base, I'm sorry, of the piece. So I just go with a light hand, and it doesn't matter if it looks dirty, because, you know, this is a weapon of war. Weapons of war look dirty, especially when they're fighting that war. So yeah, getting down close to the base, this is probably why I've done the armor wash first, is so that I don't get anything on the base. Oh boy, this stuff is finishing quick. This might be the last time I'm using this bottle of wash. Alright. Okay. See, it just kind of sinks into all the little crevices, and that's what you want. You want it to look like that. It actually makes it stand out more when it does that. All right. And if there's any excess of the wash on the piece, well, you can just take it, get it on the brush, and then spread it somewhere else. Okay. It's coming out nice. So at least I'm satisfied with it. Everybody's different. I know some people that are such perfectionists that they're never satisfied with the work that they do. Getting it nice and in there. Again, you know, just remember, it doesn't matter if it looks dirty. And in fact, if you want it to look dirty, you know, just remember, these are hobbies. They're what you want them to look like. And yeah, okay. One last one. Yeah, this is filling in nice. Yeah. And sometimes, if you notice that you kind of like, you know, rub some paint off, you know, like a little bit, or it's like a detail off, sometimes you go over, you know, with the wash, and you know, it just makes it like it didn't matter that you did that. Okay. All right. So let's get it arranged. So this is what we got. Looks pretty good. Looks really good, in my opinion, at least. So this is nice Lance for Hanson's Roughriders. Let me take this off. Okay, so this is really the first of probably many Lances I'm going to be doing on this channel. This one's just the first. It just happened to be the first one that I'm doing. So I will be bringing more battlemechs in. I also have clan elementals for some clan units that I've already painted. I'm going to be adding them to it, and stuff is, we'll just keep on painting, right? And everything's going to look great, and eventually you're going to see it in the channel Tabletop Jones Productions, when John and I, who are the two idiots playing board games, will be playing this game as well as many others. And you're going to see stuff that I paint here. You're going to see it over there, little by little. In fact, currently now, I don't know when the video will be out, but we're going to be playing Marvel Crisis Protocol, doing what I've been mentioning for so long, doing Sentinels versus Mutants.
We're going to start it off with I chose a team of mutants, and I'm going to be playing against John, who's going to be using the Sentinels, and then we're going to do it again, but then we're going to switch sides. He's going to choose a team of mutants, and I'm going to be the Sentinels. So we're going to do it twice, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and that's the point of all these hobbies, to have a lot of fun. So anyway, please like and subscribe. Please share this video as much as possible. Give as much exposure to this channel and Tabletop Jones Productions as much. Give it as much exposure as you can. Share them everywhere. It doesn't matter. So please, that's the best way you can show support to the channels. And have a great day, and I'll see you again with more units to paint, and eventually, coming soon, I'm going to be doing comic book reviews. So stay tuned. I'll say stay tuned. Take care, and I'll see you later.